Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Valen, and this is Sevtech Ages. Today, I've got a ton of stuff planned, as I often try to do at least, and I hope to bring you guys along with me. So, I've been very busy. As you can see, I've completely redesigned the entire base. Okay, no, I haven't redesigned anything in the base. Reason being, I've got reasons. I wanted to make a tiny bit more progress just to make my life that much easier, because I was out gathering materials. As you can see, I've upgraded all my chests into gold chests, so they can hold a whole lot more stuff. And yes, I have rock crystals. Yes, I could potentially make myself some new the pick for that and stuff. But it was the idea of I had to go out and mine these first, as well as other materials like gold and iron, which... Where did all my iron go? That's tin blocks. Oh, there it is. Blocks of iron. So I did a bunch of mining. Yeah, basically that was the idea. And I did a lot of exploring. If I grab my book here and kind of click on it, I zoom out a bit. You can see I've been quite a ways out here. I actually found that there was some water as well. And I took lots of different areas that I could potentially find stuff, specifically out in that desert. The desert seems to be like the veritable gold mine, if you will. That's just the idea there. So let me put this away, and then we can get on the list, because I actually had to make a list. I made an in-game list today. So we're going to start off with, I've shown you my chests, and that I went out and I did a whole lot of mining. In fact, I even went into the Beneath, because once I go through, and just at the base entrance, there was actually like a big iron mine area. So I just mined that out completely. And there's several other spots in there as well, but I just kept getting attacked. I just lit up the one area. And the Sigil of the Blood Lamp, by the way, has been absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend that you get it, so that it makes your life that much easier. Now, there are other things that I want to do. Chisels. I have some stuff here in the side. Let's see. I wanted to get my chisel set up, because if I'm going to start redesigning the base a bit with new, potentially new materials, or at least something that's not just smooth stone and dirt, and I moved Darkosto Traposto over here, by the way. If I'm to do this, I figure, you know what, you need better tools. And in order to do so, in order to fancy stuff up, you're going to need the fancy stuff, which is going to be like chisels, which here we have a plant cloth, of course, just made with a bunch of plant twine. Blue dye powder, which I could make out of plants. I made it out of lapis, because did you notice that I've got 49 blocks of lapis, and I didn't even mine the entire thing. That was just like maybe half of it at best. And of course I got a bucket of water. Should get me a positive chisel design, which is going to be one of the tools in order to use that. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate that today. I will demonstrate that once I've got it being created. Now, alternately, there are other items like chisels, and there are two kinds. One changes the block types, which is just chisel. Like this is all like perhaps, yeah, just chiseled stone. So these are all different types of regular Minecraft stone that has been chiseled. Now that, of course, is a very easy and obvious way of fancying things up. So I will be making one of those. Iron ingot and a stick. That should be relatively straightforward. I have an iron ingot and I have a stick. Here we go. In fact, I've also done up a few other things as well. But, oh, I get my bucket back. I forgot about that. So iron ingot and stick. And if I want the bit chisel, which allows me to actually carve into a regular Minecraft block and make it whatever I want within that space, it turns it into multiple smaller cubes, if you will. I can potentially make that as well, which I think uses, yeah, that uses tin. So I now have a chisel, which you can use it in your hand with, if you're unfamiliar with it, to put blocks in here and change it into whatever shape that is. If that was stone, it would give me all these other options. Or you can use it directly on the item just by right-clicking on it and, or actually left-clicking. There you go. See, I just turned it into stone bricks just with a click. You can continue cycling through the different types just by going through it, and it will use up the durability on there, but I mean, it should last you quite some time. So let me grab the other item which I'm going to need, which is going to be a stick and a piece of tin for the other part. There we go. Yeah, I've got a little bit of tin. I remember hammering all this out into ingots, and I don't know that I really needed to, but I did nonetheless. So with this, oh no, oh, it's got to be in the specific spot of the crafting table. I forgot. Okay, and yes, there are different bit chisels. There's the stone one, which will allow you about 8,384 uses, which may sound like a lot, but it's not really. Then there's this one, the bit chisel, which is 293,000 just for a piece of tin and a stick. So yeah, this is more along the lines of what you want. Then of course you got your golden chisel, which is 1,000. So just don't bother with the golden chisels. Really, they're not worth it. But there's something else, and of course I should show that yes, I can just kind of take out one piece of a chiseled bit there. And actually, let me put that bucket away. It's bothering me now. Having this open in my inventory, if I hold shift, it actually shows you what the block was that it was taken from. But if I were to just dismantle this entire thing, and just by holding this bit, I can actually chisel out individual bits as well and get more of it, which is pretty darn cool, right? But the problem is there's stacks and stacks and stacks of bits in that one block. So how do I store it? Well, with a chiseled bit bag, which requires some kind of fleece or wool, which in this case fleece is infinitely cheaper, and a button. So I happen to have sheared my sheep, as well as kind of had them make some more babies because I wasn't able to get string fast enough. And now I have a chiseled bit bag. Just by right-clicking this, I can actually put all of the bits in there, and it will store all these stacks just by you standing and picking them up. And as it gets full, the durability bar will actually go up. So that's going to be two very key tools that I'm going to be needing. In fact, I'll probably be needing more chiseled bit bags, as I tend to, I don't know, chisel a lot of stuff as I go. But otherwise, it should be all right. And in this case, I'm just going to throw away this one block. And yes, because it is chiseled, it will give a ghost of the area, so you can use it that way. But that should take care of that one. Now, other things on the list, now that I have some tools in order to help myself pretty things up, is I got rock crystals. Actually finding rock crystals has not been a problem. I just go into the Betweenlands and walk around, and I find rock crystals everywhere. And as you notice, I just mined up like, I don't know, like 5-6 blocks and got all these rock crystals. It's kind of sick actually how many you got with how rare they are in the in the standard version of Astral Sorcery. And if you haven't checked it out, I do have a series on that. But please do check it out. And I did get a whole lot of those. I intend on using that to potentially make myself a faster or better pick. But I have other ideas for that as well. So we'll see how that goes. But Surmerite hoppers. You notice all the hoppers in the base are now blue, or at least most of them, maybe not those ones. I was collecting a lot of Surmerite in the Betweenlands, which admittedly the blue kind of clashes with everything at the moment. But as you get access to new and better materials, things get better. And look, I still have 42 Surmerite ingots left. But the use for this, of course, you can use it for like decorative, like trapdoors, shields, shears, and so on, armor. But look, the Surmerite hopper, it's basically a weedwood chest, which is just a bunch of weedwood planks. So it's it's really, really cheap and easy way of making hoppers. Oh my gosh. And the interface is just like a vanilla hopper, which if you look up a regular vanilla hopper and compare the recipe for that, it's a bunch of iron plates plus a bronze gear and a chest. Well, forget that. I'd much unless I want to make it an upper hopper. I think I'm going to be pretty happy with my Surmerite ones right now because they're so darn cheap. And yes, the whoppers are okay and the wooden hoppers are okay, but I just the interface with them is not as easy as opening up something and being able to put things in there. So that's kind of what's going on with that. I did replace this. I added over here a cast chest, which previously it is a pattern chest if you look at the tooltip, but once I open it, it says cast chest because it will only accept casts in one and patterns in the other. But I opted for it because this was just taking up too much space, and I already accidentally made a second ingot cast. And this hopper up here is just so I can break it and stick it on the front of the smeltery controller if I have stacks of things to go in, which I did for a lot of the iron. And I just kind of cut the sides out and put multiple faucets on these smeltery drains. I could have put another one on the back here, but I actually didn't have that many blocks at a time that I was melting. So let's continue on with some of this stuff. Oh my gosh. I've got backpacks. Yes, I did start creating backpacks. And in fact, if you notice, I took your advice. I put the sleep charm in my slot here, and it's dark. It's night out. Sleep done instantly. It's so good. And for some reason, it really upsets all of the animals whenever I sleep. So apparently, I'm a very loud sleeper. Just ask Koshgood. She'll probably attest to that. But backpacks. I made a gold backpack, which you might think, all right, the regular standard recipe for backpacks is cheap, right? And then the use for that with the upgrades for it. Here you go. You've got to do a blank, then a storage wood, storage stone, storage iron, storage gold. But that's the thing. Every time that you upgrade to the next level, you have to have all the previous levels. So therefore, ultimately, these backpacks are very expensive compared to the regular backpack, because this is an iron backpack surrounded by this. So you're upgrading your old backpack, not the module that you have to keep putting in every time. So it's ultimately a lot cheaper for the same amount of space that you would get with these. But it's not going to be, you know, all pretty colored like this. So I did try, you know, I was starting to upgrade, and I'm like, you know, I'm just going to use this as a general materials storage backpack at this point now, and I'm going to have my gold one be my like tools and weapons. So I did get a few more items in the Betweenlands. I got a Critter Cruncher and a Hag Hacker, which basically one-shot the little termites and the swamp hags. I also got a Shimmer Stone from the that peat mummy, which was pretty darn cool. And you can throw those on the ground, and the peat mummies will actually chase after it for a moment, giving you the opportunity to attack them or just run away. But so that's the deal with my backpacks going on here. Now, if I were to continue further, I also want to make I forgot. Yeah, life crystal repair. That's the whole point of why I've got Valenite here. If I put this in here, if I take off like a Valenite helmet, which I'm going to use up a little bit just showing this to you. So yeah, let's do it on the helmet here. If I put this in, you notice that I have 59% of the life crystal remaining. This is the advantage of the Betweenlands armor sets, because if I try this with something like an Aot, it's not going to work. If I try it with a Tinker Tool, it doesn't work. But if I put in Valenite, it uses up some of the life crystal and a bunch of sulfur to repair this. Not clean it, it repairs it. So it's a really nice way of repairing your armor, specifically if you have something like this in the beginning, because you can't just combine it with other materials. I mean, I have some Valenite here, but then I would need like an anvil or something, and it doesn't work like an Aot does, where you can repair the materials or something like that in the crafting grid. And as I don't have an anvil made, and I could make one, and see if that actually does work, it will then also cost experience levels every time that you repair it and so on. This is free. All you need to do is get life crystals, which, by the way, I've killed a whole lot of whites. I found a white spawner, as well as a few other goodies that I'll talk to you about in a minute. Now, Gluttony Charm. Oh, this is my favorite item. Favorite item. Oh my gosh. So I have the materials here. A golden apple, of course. I mined up a whole bunch of gold. I surrounded it around an apple because this is my precious. This is the One Ring, the Gluttony Charm. Oh, it's so fantastic. Okay, just by having it on me, I feel better already. You can't put it in here, sadly. You can put it in the same slot as your Sleep Charm, which I think I might do because the Sleep Charm isn't as important as my Gluttony Charm is to me. So if I accidentally drop it for some reason, oops. But if I have something like, let's say, a Sacrificial Dagger, not that I need to donate blood into here, there's a tiny bit missing. But if I do this, and I need to eat some food, let's do that. And in fact, let's put this food away. I have cooked wolf meat for this. I can just nom, instantly. I'm instantly eating food. It is amazing and fantastic. I can't. Oh my gosh, the convenience that some of these things do. This really works well if you're having like lag issues, especially in SevTech, or if you're on a server or something like that, and you're sitting there eating for like a minute or something. This is a great alternative. Now let's just put this away, put those in there, and continue on with our list of wonders, because this is amazing. Tome of Peritia, or Peritia. I don't know how it's really pronounced. I don't really know. Is going to be made as such, basically a block of lapis, a couple string, my apprentice blood orb, a couple pieces of gold, and I hope it's any arcane scroll, because when you look up the use for it, it says protection. But I think it's just using that as a placeholder for any arcane scroll. I did not test this, so this could be a major disappointment, because look how many levels I have. 55 levels. It's been some time since I've died. In fact, it was when I went to the Beneath and got surprised by a shadow monster spawner. That was really bad. But what I've got set up down here should help me out. In fact, I just donated a little bit to it. I've got some of those reinforced slates, which are just, blank slates, which are just, stone put on here for 1,000 life points. And then reinforced plates are those blank slates put on here for 2,000. And then used for this is going to be on here, reinforced for 5,000. But I need a tier 3 is the problem in order to obtain that. So as much as I could put this up here. Here, I will actually, I've got a hopper over here, a Sermerite hopper, in fact. Put them up here, no particles are happening, so it's just going to sit there floating, doing absolutely nothing. Nothing. So, upgrading the Blood Altar is one of the things I plan on doing today, so that I can get the Tome of Peritia. Reason being, the Tome of Peritia, here, a book used to store experience. Basically, I think it's, I can't remember if it's right or left click, but one of those 2 clicks will store a level, and the other click will take a level back from the book. It's absolutely glorious. And it will store XP, not levels. So it will just store all of your levels at a time. And you can therefore be very selective about how many levels you spend on things without wasting XP. It's amazing, especially at this point. Not to say that I have an enchanting table or anything like that, but if I need some levels on something, I don't have to waste the top 5 most expensive levels for a 5th XP cost on something. But we will get to that once we get to the blood magic stuff there. I forgot that it actually needed a tier 3 is why, because on my list it was supposed to be done at this point, but oops. Oh well, I'll come back to Prismarine. Okay, I did not know. I apologize to the person who said, that Prismarine, I need to go with Prismarine, and I was like, there's no water nearby. That is all. I am done. I was absolutely wrong. There was water nearby. There was a large body of nearby, but large body of water nearby, but there was no ocean monuments. But if you're familiar with some of the land gens setup, if you're out in a boat and with the water set up the way it is, so you can actually see through it, and yes, the wisps actually do work. I just need to not be near them. You can see through slightly. It's especially better when you see through the water at nighttime, and you can see occasionally sea lanterns under the water, which also means that next to those sea lanterns is Prismarine, which is a fantastic material, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Let's see if I have, I've got some Prismarine sharpening kits. Did I put all the materials? No. I've got them all over here. Okay, that was right. I forgot. So, over here I have some upgrades for my weapons and tools, which will make me even more offensive. And hopefully you guys don't take that meaning in the wrong way. But we've got a Prismarine sign plate, which we'll use up, I believe... yeah, three Prismarine pieces, which this stuff is as the saying is here in Scotland, cheap as chips. Once you find it, you can then go back and get it. It's just a matter of going underwater to obtain it. Then the other item that I'm going to need is going to be for the sword. I need a new blade. Making it do more damage is more important, and the more damage it takes, the more durability damage it takes, the more damage it will do. So, with that in mind, I can upgrade these tools, but only on the tool station, which I have a bunch of other tools already taking up some slots here. As you notice, I have some copper tool rods and some Prismarine bindings. Reason being is because this, if you remember, consists of 2 bronze parts and 1 copper binding. And I'm going to replace that, but I really want to keep the well established from the copper binding, because that actually has gotten me a bunch of these levels. Not all of them, but a bunch of them. So I'm keeping the copper tool rods, which are actually very similar to the bronze ones. They're just very minorly different. And then I'm going to add in a Prismarine binding to give it aqua dynamics, so it will actually harvest things underwater much simpler. I should I should have gone searching for aquamarine first, because this would have made my life mining things underwater in the Betweenlands so much easier. But anyway, the idea here is we do this, we upgrade the shovel to a well-established dense aquatic shovel. So therefore it works better underwater and it likes the rain and everything. Plus it still gives me the XP bonus, and it has a bunch of the previous, what do you call it? Durability drops a little bit. If you notice here, it goes from 653 to 587. But that's not that bad. That's not that bad. I'm willing to take that hit on it, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this. You can see the only difference with changing out the binding is going to be the change of well-established and aquadynamic, which is why I wanted to put a copper part back on there. Plus it gives it a really nice little like gemmed effect on here, which I think is really neat. But yeah, as before, the durability drops a little bit, but I think that that'll be just fine. And we'll do the same thing with this. I don't know why I would need to have an aquadynamic axe, but you never do know. So let's put the sword in here and upgrade that with a really pretty sick looking prismarine broadsword. Oh, it looks so cool now. I'm liking the green theme. And I'm regretting having the blue gems on this and the Valenite green down here. If I might change those in time if I end up getting a whole bunch more. But let's take my cactus sign off. Put that in here and switch out the sign on that as well. And you can see that the damage goes up on this. It's pretty darn good. This will take out, this combo now with the sword and shield is going to be really, really good. In fact, it now does, if you look at it, 9.7 damage, which is going to be better than your other sword. Where is it here in my weapons bag? Your sentient sword, which I think I've got it at 8.5 right now. And I've got all these lesser Tartaric gems. Even if I had a bunch of common Tartaric gems filled up, I don't think I could get above 9.5. And this is already a 9.7. So I'm kind of thinking I'm just going to keep that off to the side for now. And we'll keep all, because I'm going to need this will at some point. But I can keep it there for now. Oof. Oof. All right. I have so many upgrades. So many upgrades. All right. So let's put the tools away for the moment, because I do have a bunch of bronze sharpening kits still, which will apply to these. And I've got some prismarine sharpening kits, which will now apply to the broadsword and the battle sign, which is a bit more important than the other. And let's continue on. Oh my gosh, the prismarine. Oh, and I also added it to my arrows, which now do a bunch more damage too. And so I made 2 of these Tinker arrows, which are pretty darn good. Yeah, and they'll also use the sharpening kits. So many upgrades. So many upgrades. Oh, now. Blood magic. I plan on kind of trying to end this with a bit of blood magic progress, and then maybe next episode we'll jump into the Betweenlands so that I can get my intended tool that I really, really want. I'll tell you what I really, really want, and it's going to be a swift pick. I really want a swift pick, if not multiples, from the Betweenlands, and I found sources for it. Namely, I found a tower, and I found a White's Fortress. So I plan on doing that next episode, but for now, we're going to do some blood magic. So, Sacrificial Dagger. I have... oh, actually, I think it's already over here. I have this, a Black Quartz Sword. Use for it, of course, you can use it to make an Aot in a Blood Altar with 3,000 life essence. Will make a Dagger of Sacrifice, which will allow me actually some changes for how I could potentially sacrifice food and stuff. So let's actually grab these out of there, because I'm gonna want to do that right now. I'm just gonna let it sit there. It's not gonna actually use up any more than that, but that's going to turn into the Sacrificial Dagger, which I can use. And here's the key. Here's the key. In my discussions with some comments, we came up with a great idea for sacrificing things. I know it's terrible, but we've got all these eggs, right? And we also have a ceremony which will hatch chickens from eggs. So I can take a stack of eggs, toss them on here, like set up a little nearby case or something like that, or a container, throw the eggs in there, perform the ceremony, dancing back and forth, doing the thing, hatch all the eggs out, and then use the Dagger of Sacrifice to get all the blood. And then I don't need to use any of my own blood at all, because that's what the Dagger of Sacrifice does. You just kill anything nearby a blood altar, and it will donate blood into there. So then I just chicken, 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 chicken. And besides, on top of that, once I have a couple chickens left, I need to replace the old ones because I think I got a little carried away. I don't know what happened. They got like suffocated in the wall or something. That's why there's 3 raw chickens in the corner. Maybe it was a bad spot. Maybe they got cooked or something. Who knows? But I now have a Dagger of Sacrifice so that I can actually perform that ritual if I need to. But at the moment I have self-sacrifice runes, which are not going to work quite as good. So to upgrade the blood magic altar, the Inspectoress. Hold on a second here. Inspectoress. There it is. Inspectoress Scandalum is a very useful tool, which we're going to need some plant cloth or a book, depending if you have one, and a little bit of life points in order to do so. Let me grab a bunch of the plant. I don't need plant fiber. Let me just take plant twine that I already have and clear all this off because I can't actually do that just yet. Make myself that plant cloth, drop it on the blood altar, and we should make this useful tool, which actually, it looks like I might need to potentially do a little sacrificing here in a moment anyway, so I might as well go grab some peace for my dagger, grab my divination sigil, and take a look. Oh, I've got 6,000 left, so I don't need to self-sacrifice until I'm down to about like 3,500, and then it gets me plenty. But there we go. Inspectoress Scandalum. Now, I'm going to take my shield off just in case there's some kind of conflict with it. But if I click on this, it should say Tier 2. And if I choose it, I think... Let's see if I can get this set up right. I'm going to right-click Tier 3. That's what I wanted. And I just need to shift. There we go. So if I click here, it shows me where this stuff needs to be, which is fantastic. I just shift-clicked on the blood altar itself, and it says you need to have stuff out here, just like this, which is great. So now I can clear away the stone. Reason being is that there's going to be a bunch of stone needed in this area. Specifically, there we go, right here. And I can continue on clearing this out, and I actually already took the liberty of making a bunch of blank runes to start with. Yes, it'll be better if I have some different runes, but for now, I just want this. So I'm just going to clear this out, and I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I have returned, and I'm sure some of you are thinking there's a flaw in my plan. Well, you actually are correct. There is a flaw in my plan, and it is the fact that I actually, well, 1, I don't have access to glowstone. And 2, in fact, I'm just going to do this, put these back down. And yes, I actually dug underneath those for now, which I can fix that in a moment. I can put these back, and then I can use my chisel. Where did I put my chisel? There it is. To change these to, whoops, brick, which I don't think it needs to be brick. I think it just matters what the capstone is. But I'm following the instructions as it is, just for tradition's sake. Besides, it stays somewhat thematic to what the room is right now, which is relatively plain. But, yeah, glowstone doesn't have to be glowstone. It can be something else. In fact, it can be sea lanterns. But I don't have a way of picking them up. Or making them. Because if you look up a sea lantern, it has a recipe requiring a prismarine shard. And I don't have a way of making prismarine shards. If you look, there's like a hydrator version. But yeah, I don't have a hydrator in order to make that. Besides, I mean, look, unfamiliar item. So it's not going to happen unless I find a bigger ocean. So that is actually going to be put briefly on hiatus. But I still am going to finish putting a bunch of blank runes, at least, down in these other spots. Oops, that was not the intended spot. But this template thing is really, really awesome for figuring out. So you don't have to use any kind of wiki or anything like that. Let's just move this dirt here. There we go. Making things a lot simpler for upgrading the tiers of your blood altar. But it's not going to show you, you know, like I can use a sea lantern in this case because the mod pack has been changed. No, it's not going to show you that. But it's not going to hurt either. So it's nice to have the option to at least show the framework for where it needs to be. And just so that you guys are aware of what I'm talking about, if we look at the Advancements tab for Age 2, you can see here it says Under the Sea Lantern. The Tier 3 Blood Magic Altar caps can be made from sea lanterns or glowstone. Locate Prismarine from an ocean monument, or as a drop from the Dark Forest maze in the Twilight Forest. So, I think what's going to happen is I need to go into the Dark Forest in the Twilight Forest. I think that actually sounds a lot more fun than just bouncing around the landscape looking for oceans and then swimming around and stuff. I feel relatively well equipped, though I may die because I'm definitely not fireproof. So what I think is going to happen at this point is I'm going to rearrange my list that is up here a bit. So I think going to the Betweenlands Tower and the Fortress, while very good, I think it might be best if I switch things up. I think maybe next episode I'll go to something like the Twilight Forest. So I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. If so, be sure to give a like. Let me know in the comments below. And let me know if you think that we should be hitting up the Twilight and come back to the Betweenlands so that I can get that pick that I want in order to mine out everything so much faster. If so, then we'll hit the Twilight Forest next time. So anyway, don't be afraid to spread the mischief to others if you think they'll enjoy this kind of content too. And until next time, folks, I'll see ya.